Happy New Year! Finally, 2025 is just there, and we are going to use that opportunity to address all the questions you guys have been asking lately that I haven't had the time to answer. So it is going to be a few videos right now with this much more chill laid out background. And from January 20, we will go back to more quality videos. Simply because on January 20, my new book is finally coming out. Magical linguistics is over, everything is written, the chapter section is made, which was a nightmare, as you know, if you have published a book in your life. The cover is made, everything is made, so you will have the book into your hands by January 20. For that reason, I haven't had the time to design more quality videos lately. So those are going to be more chill and just answering your questions in a more conversational way. And from that date, we will go back to more quality. The first thing I wanted to address for all of you who are going to watch and who are still in the process of developing your life and improving yourself in whatever ways you can, by whatever means you can, is the process of setting goals effectively or efficiently. Because as you know, if you have ever set a goal, most people who set a new goal at the beginning of a new year don't achieve it or don't follow up after the first 2 or 3 months. Once the dopamine of excitement wears off, drops down, people are not motivated anymore and they just stop. So on my end, on the opposite, I have been pretty productive in so many things that I noticed there were a few things I was doing differently compared to most people I saw who were designing goals and not achieving them or not following up with them. For this reason, I wanted to give you my entire process, the one I use all the time for the past 10 years and how it has been refined over the last 10 years. And it is exactly what I used at the beginning of this year too to design my new goals, which I will keep for myself for now. But I wanted to show you my process, and the idea is to see what are you doing differently compared to what I am doing. Not that my model is the best one, but at least if there is anything I do that you notice you're not doing, maybe that is where the problem is. So let me show you right here if I can find the document. Yes, this is my process that I have refined dozens of times over the years, and by now it works extremely well for me. I always achieve everything I set with that model. So we are going to break it down. And before explaining in detail what all of the sections are about, I wanted to explain to you that setting goals, or should we say, setting a relevant goal, is a skill in and of itself. It's not just about how to be more productive, how to be more motivated, because those things are relevant once you have identified which goals are right for you. But in the beginning, people fail not because they are not productive, not motivated, not willing enough, not they don't have enough motivation. They fail because they haven't set the right goal that is aligned with where their life is at right now. And 6 months from now, your life won't be at the exact same place. So the goal you set right now maybe won't be relevant 6 months from now, and vice versa. Maybe something that would be relevant 1 year from now is a dead end if you try to achieve it today. Developing that instinct, that intuition for what is the right goal for me today is a skill. And I have developed this process we are going to break down now to unveil those black spots, those things you were not looking at that maybe were the key to tell you this is not the right thing, this is the right thing you should do. This one is irrelevant, even if everyone on social media says you should get this, the new girlfriend, better body, yes, this, more money. Okay, those are the trendy things. Maybe this is not what you need. Or maybe you need that, but in a version you haven't thought about. We are going to go through all of this. So this type of goal setting always unveils all the things you are not looking at. And without further ado, let's check how it works. So I beginning by a title that sometimes I only put at the end. Let's say, for example, stop smoking is the goal right now, whatever it is. Usually I like to write some more interesting names just to give some spark of motivation. But let's go with something really simple. I write a lot on those things. Not going to show you anything I wrote personally because it is too personal and private. But for example, when I wrote my book, I designed the writing of my book with a model like this. I prepared the goal of writing my book with a process exactly like this. And I wrote my book 337 pages in 6 months. While at the same time, I was still posting on YouTube, still working out, still going out. So 6 months to write an entire book when I see many people never finishing anything they start. I know I am more productive than many people, and I attribute that partly to the way I set my goals in the beginning. What are the specific observable symptoms? So all the model is based on the SCORE model by Robert Dills. Maybe you have figured that out, but I have changed a few things and adapted them. The more you write, anything on this model, the more you will unveil the things you were not paying attention to. So I will link it down below. You will have this document down below in the description, and you can just answer it right away for yourself. What are the observable, measurable symptoms? By observable and measurable, this is what really matters here. We want something that what somebody else would say about you if that person was looking at the problems you suffer from right now. So stop smoking. Well, I smoke too much. I don't smoke, by the way, but just for somebody who would like to stop smoking. People tell me they don't like the smell. My kids don't like being around me. You know, all sorts of things that are observable that anyone could testify. Anything that is clearly seen, clearly heard, clearly felt, you write it right here because you want to start. The unconscious mind needs a clear starting point to figure out solutions. If the starting point is too vague, like I don't like my life, yeah, that doesn't mean anything. What specifically do you not like, and what somebody else might be able to say or see if that person was witnessing what you want to change? So you write that almost from the perspective of somebody else. Then what caused these symptoms? That might be a question you might not be able to answer if you don't have any experience in psychology, in therapy, and anything. But what caused these symptoms? It is to become more aware of the unconscious reasons that may have been keeping you stuck. What caused these symptoms? Well, because I started smoking very long ago, hard to stop because it became a habit, for example, because I like the movement. Like a girl one time told me she liked the poofing something at her on her mouth, which I think is just a smokescreen excuse, but let's whatever comes to mind, you just write it down to speed out all the things lying in your head, being stagnant in your head. Smoking because it makes it easier to make friends when I'm alone. Like in a party, it breaks the ice to have a cigarette to offer or to ask for a lighter to somebody else. We might find anything. Just write whatever pops up in your mind, and those two are very important because they are going to be necessary to answer the last questions at the end about resources. So you need to address those first. What is the problem? How do you know there is a problem? What is observable about it? And in your opinion, maybe you're going to be wrong, whatever, but in your opinion, what was the reason all of those symptoms started in the beginning? Then what do you want instead? And this is one of the main problems we see with goal setting. People know what they don't want anymore, but they don't have more than 2 or 3 words in their vocabulary to describe what they want instead. First of all, I want to stop smoking is not a goal at all. It is a negation. Stop smoking is not a right goal. Instead, I want to become healthy again and to eventually save money, because many people have this argument in their head. If finally they stopped smoking, they would save a lot of money. Okay, I want this. I want to live longer. I want to start working out again, because many people don't work out that much because their lungs work so bad that they can't sustain endurance long efforts. I want closer relationships with my kids, because maybe they get far away from me because I smoke and they don't like that. And as much as possible, even if I wrote down I want here, write it as if it was happening now. So by now, I am finally free to spend my evenings with a lot of healthy hobbies. Many people, when they are alone during the evening, they light a cigarette because they feel alone, for example. They need something to forget about their loneliness. Okay, instead of writing, I don't want to be lonely anymore, you write, by now I am finally free to spend my evenings with a lot of healthy hobbies. And you can break them down. What kind of healthy hobbies? I can more easily engage into healthier social activities eventually. I can more easily go to the gym whenever I want. I am so delighted to have found more energy again, because if you smoke all the time, maybe your energy drops down. So you phrase everything in the positive, at least 5 sentences, because most people I did that exercise with, they just write, for example, I want to stop cigarettes, and that's all. That's all they write, and this, in their mind, is satisfying. They think it is enough for your unconscious mind to follow up with a goal. It is not. When it is not precise enough and not broken down with enough sensory information, your mind just says, whatever. I'm busy, I'm worrying, I don't want to get lose time, waste time with this. Let's just do what we have done so far. It is much easier. So you just forget about those shitty, useless goals. You write a juicy, important goal. And with that alone, when I write this, I can already reframe the intent here. Instead of saying stop smoking, in the light of what I'm seeing right here, I can say healthy life plan. And that might be a much better goal than I want to stop what is negative. Okay, once you have succeeded at stopping what was negative, then what does your life becomes? Once you have stopped. This is the goal. The goal is not to stop anything. The goal is to move toward something more empowering and more interesting than where your life is right now, where your life is at. So when I do those ones, I'm not going to show you, but I write like until and up to here. Like this is legitimately how lengthy my texts are when I write those things. The more information you give, the more easily your mind will find solutions that you did not think about or that you thought were impossible, but now that you lay them out like this, everything seems so much more intuitive. So this one is just an added step if you are in tune with all the NLP terminology, you know, the VAK. What will you see, hear, and feel? I will for example, I will feel my lungs much more free to breathe easily. I will hear people telling me I look younger. I will look at myself in the mirror and being much more proud of myself, for example. This one is not just an added step that to give some more clues to your unconscious mind to figure out where to go. For example, what will your goal bring that you don't already have? This is to create connections in your brain. The brain moves faster when there is at least one connection with something you already know or something you have already done. If I want to engage in a new sports and I have already been an athletic person before, it is easier, obviously. Therefore, as a comparison, can you pinpoint what in your life specifically will change compared to what you already have? If that makes sense. What will your goal bring that you don't already have? Maybe healthier, maybe healthier relationships, because maybe I will spend less time with people who drag me, who lower me by constantly proposing to me to smoke during the break at work. More time because I will spend less time smoke eventually. Not sure if it is a good one, but eventually, or at least more money. Definitely, definitely more money. Therefore, what will I buy with that money? I will be able to invest on this new vacation, for example. That's what I meant. Create links with other aspects of your life. That the more links are existing between the goal you want to achieve and the things already existing in your life, the more easily your mind will find a way to achieve it by uncommon methods you haven't figured out yet. That is how it works. Don't ask me why, just how it works. What are the longer term benefits? Pretty easy. Obviously, better health, live longer, more money. Yeah, well, we made it. This one is the most relevant one from the entire model for me. How specifically, how will you know that you have achieved your goal? By which metrics, by which standards do you measure that you have succeeded? When we talked about observable symptoms, what is the observable clear metric that will let you and other people know that you have succeeded? When I designed my book, obviously, the final criteria is, well, when the book is published and I can read reviews about the book. That is a clear signal the project is finished, is over. If we talk about stopping cigarettes, stop smoking, what exactly is the metric by which you measure that it is done? Because not everyone necessarily wants to completely stop smoking. Some people might just want to reduce or only smoke in certain environments and not others. For example, if it is your case, I will know I have succeeded when the only when I only smoke in parties, not at home anymore, and only 2 cigarettes during the night maximum. I know from stop smoking experts it is not really an advice because they usually say it is easier to completely stop than to stop slowly. So this, just take that with a grain of salt. It might not be the best one. But how will you know? You need a clear metric to measure if yes or no. It is a simple binary choice. Did you succeed, yes or no? How do you measure if it is a clear yes or if it is a clear no? One time I talked with a girl who said, my main goal for the new year is to limit the damage with my romantic relationships. And I challenged her. I said, how will you know you have successfully limited the damage? Because that seems very broad and vague to me. So how will you know you have successfully limited the damage with your relationships, romantic ones? And she didn't even have an answer. She had no clue about it. So she was just looping in circles about the same things without clarifying what will it look like once she has succeeded. Now, the most critical and the reason why I told you you need a lot of text and to specifically answer those two because we are going to need them, it is the resources that you can put in place to succeed. This one is, I guess, the one I have added that very few people actually do. And the way I identify such resources, so the means, basically, the means you are going to use to achieve your goal, are very elusive to most people. They usually have a broad idea of what they want, but when asking them how will you achieve that or how can you use a method that will make you achieve that, they don't really have an idea. So in terms of resources, it will usually not be clear in your head in the beginning because you haven't achieved that yet. Asking to somebody who has succeeded, they're going to tell you in the blink of an eye what the resource is to stop smoke. If I take the example of stop smoking cigarettes, the main the main resource I heard multiple times from people who have successfully stopped for good was an auditory suggestion telling them it is over. It is, I made my decision, now it is over, I stop. But that suggestion in their head was so much reinforced and so resonant that they rehearsed it every day and they stopped. I don't know why. I don't know why it is so simple for some people and not for others. I just know all the people I talked to who successfully stopped went through the same auditory suggestion that they rehearsed multiple times. Don't know why, it just works like this. Of course, if you don't have 10 years of experience in NLP and modeling like I have, obviously that may not be that easy to identify resources like this out of thin air. Therefore, how can you develop that? Is by using all the modalities that Robert Dills talked extensively about in his book on modeling. You are going, instead of just staying stuck on your screen right like this and trying to write, oh, I don't know, maybe I'm gonna do it, maybe not, maybe I'm gonna fail. You just use all the power of your brain that is already accessible by shifting between the visual, the auditory, and the kinesthetic. Any resource you use is either going to be visual, auditory, or kinesthetic, and maybe other things, but those are the three main ones. Therefore, when you think about this, when you ponder on how could I achieve that, you are going to use the posture explained by Robert Dills. You are going to put a hand or like your arm on your belly like this. So it activates the kinesthetic. You put your hand on the belly like this, helping to activate the kinesthetic thinking. You are going to tilt your head on the side. Let me just put this here to make it simpler. You are going to put tilt your head on the side because that way you are activating the auditory system when you tilt your head on the side, the brain waves, whatever. And then you are going to move your eyes up. And as you touch your chin to activate the inner dialogue, you move your eyes up and you keep moving your eyes to activate all of the accessing cues. Everyone knows on the sides it is auditory, on up it is visual, down right it is kinesthetic, down left it is inner dialogue. If you keep moving your eyes in all directions while your head is tilted like this and while you scratch your chin with your hand here on your belly, if you keep doing all of that at the same time, you ask yourself, how can I achieve this goal? And you keep moving your eyes at the same time, you rehearse the question in your head, how can I achieve this goal? How can I stop smoking? How can I stop smoking? And just right now doing it, something popped up in my head that was not planned for this video. I had the image coming in my head of me running. And what comes to mind is, well, if I was smoking, if I was engaging more into sports, and I'm already athletic, so it is something I already have, then I would be less tempted to smoke. If every time I need to smoke, I was replacing that with with a simple habit of going for a run for 10 minutes, for example, that would be easier to replace the habit of smoking by another habit, or instead of just trying to stop and not replacing it with anything else. Just what came to my mind as I was doing that. So this is a creative process all of you can use to better identify the right resources. So now that you have this process in mind, you can identify what resources are relevant to achieve your goal. And when I do this, I go back to reading what I wrote here. Okay, so what resource can I use to achieve my goal? And I read, excuse me, and I read the goal. At the same time I read that goal, I do this process like this. So I do this. I want to become healthy again and to save money. Okay, I want to live longer. Okay, I want to start working out again. As I read all of that, I notice what thoughts, what new thoughts come to mind. More importantly, what new thoughts come to mind. If you haven't succeeded at this yet, it means the ways to get there are still outside of your awareness. Or maybe you know what you should do, but you haven't found a way to do it, in which case something else is blocking, and that else thing that is blocking will become apparent and you will become more aware of that as you do this process. So you do that with the goal. So you write down, okay, replacing the smoking with more running time, which is what came to me. Then you do the same thing with the symptoms. Same thing, you read again the symptoms and you go through the same process of asking yourself what type of resource might render this more easy, might make this much easier to accomplish. Then same thing for the causes, even if the causes are things you may not be aware of, but whatever came to your mind. And finally, for the longer term benefits. So what longer term benefits will be accessible? Better health, live longer, more money. Okay, what type of resources might you use? Physical resources, maybe a friend who can help you, maybe a coach, maybe one video on my channel that could help you, maybe meditation, anything. But the thing that comes to your mind as you read that question, that is the one you need to do. Connect to your intuition, not just what you read in any random blog article, or not just what ChatGPT told you, but what came to your mind at the moment you read that question and you read your answer. What is the first thing that pops up in your mind as you read this? That is the one you need. Then, and from all of those, then you won't necessarily need to use all of them. It is just that who can do the most can do the least. Therefore, the more answers and possibilities you have, the more easily you will find at least one that will be satisfactory. When I designed my book, I did not use all of the resources I wrote down here. I used maybe one or two at most. But the fact of spreading them, elaborating on as many as you can, makes it easier to find at least one that will work. And if the first one doesn't work, you go back to this document and you go look for the other one. Then some final questions, and I'm going to try to wrap this video up because it's getting very long right now. Who will you become? Maybe a more identity question. I don't know, a healthier person. If you have a specific role model in mind, you might write down this role model, or even keep it for here. So who else has achieved this goal? In my personal life, I know a guy whose name is Nicholas, who has stopped by the means I explained. He just had a suggestion in his head and he stopped, whereas he used to smoke like 1 pack a day at his worst. So you write down any examples of people you know who have stopped, who have achieved what you want to achieve. And what prevents you right now from achieving your goal? Is it internal? Is it because you criticize yourself? Is it because somebody else you think is blocking you or stopping you from stopping? Is it because you don't have the courage? In that case, we come back to resources. If you lack the courage, then what might replace courage, or what might trigger more courage into you? What prevents you? It might be somebody else. It might be because you live in a very dark environment, dark in the metaphoric sense, some environment where people hate you, you don't like where you live. Then how can you at least move a few times per week, maybe 1 hour every 2 days, into a place where it is more healthier and more optimistic and more enjoyable to go? There's always a solution for everything. And finally, what I write here on the last step, what are the steps you already know to achieve your goal? I basically just copy paste what I wrote here. So I just remove that part right here. and I just stick it here, and I remove all the everything else, and I just keep the lines I wrote. Now I just have one, but I just copy paste all the resources and I add anything else that comes to my mind again. With all of that, with all of this, then you are in for a much better propensity to achieve that goal than just thinking about it and then never following through on it. So this whole process is down below in the description if you need it. I have linked it. And if you have any questions about this, of course, ask them. This is what I have been using many times. And every time I use that, I get much more consistent and I unveil more resources than the ones I initially thought about. With that being said, thanks for listening and see you in the next one.